addressing the plight of the people, she responded in a contemptuous way by telling the people, if you cannot afford to eat bread, go and buy cakes. That is exactly what Kasongo is doing to us today. Instead of him responding to our plight, he is becoming arrogant, is becoming unruly, is becoming abusive, he's becoming contemptuous on us. You know, he has lost all the tenets of a people's servant. And that is why we have therefore decided, and that's why you can see this court is in existence today, to exercise our power and our sovereignty to directly challenge Kasongo. To tell Kasongo, even where you think that you are going to mutilate our constitution, even where you think you are going to mutilate our institutions, we the people shall directly exercise our power to challenge your actions, to challenge your conduct, and to make sure that we hold you to account. For example, how is it possible that one individual can take 20 million Kenyan shilling and give it to an individual? We all know that Kasongo's salary per month is 1.4 million. How was he able to accumulate 20 million from his savings so that he can have enough even to award to these pastors? It tells you that whatever Kasongo was dealing with on Sunday are suspected proceeds of crime. And then how can we then be convinced to keep quiet, watch, and stare when an individual who appears in the name of a president trades or gifts proceeds of crimes to a Kenyan? It is our responsibility to call that individual to order. And therefore, what should we do as a people? As a people, we must rise up and stand up to be counted. I draw a lot of lessons from Daniel in the Bible. When Daniel was called upon by King Nebuchadnezzar to eat the food that the king had prepared, he stood to his ground and said, I am not ready to defile myself with the king's food. I refuse to feed this food. And subsequently, he was thrown to the den of lions. That is a similar situation we find ourselves in. There must be men and women who are going to rise up and say, we are not going to feed from the king's defiled foods. We are not going to be bribed to keep quiet. We are not going to be given jobs to silence us. We are not going to be intimidated to silence us. Even if you abduct us, you abduct my neighbor, you abduct my relatives, the rest of us who are going to remain must make sure that they speak from the loudest voice that we are not going to defile ourselves with the fins and the foods coming from the Kasongo's dining. That is a duty of a citizen. It's a solemn duty that we can have at the moment so that we can reclaim and redeem our country. Kasongo wants to silence us. That is why he has taken intimidation, threats, extrajudicial killings, and abduction as a means and as a ways of trying to silence us. Because he thought that by compromising parliament to keep quiet and sing its tune, that he would have mutilated its ability to oversight his deeds. However, he has realized that there has come an alternative voice of reason that is holding him to account for each and every deed that he undertakes. You might want to ask yourself, why are the members of parliament silent? Why would they not hold Kasongo to account to tell us, where did you get 20 million shillings from? If the parliament doesn't do so, we shall exercise our power under Article 1 to make sure that we hold these individuals to account. Therefore, fellow comrades, my submissions as I pen off is to encourage you to continue doing what you are doing. You are doing the Lord's works. It is we who are going to remain. Again, I implore you to read the speech by Martin Luther King, I Have Been to the Mountain. When he was addressing the janitors from the state of Memphis, he made a very interesting observation from the Bible. He drew the attention of the Memphis janitors to the story of the Good Samaritan. And he was asking, and he gave them the analogy that when the robbers clobbered and beat that man, before the Good Samaritan came to rescue him, the Pharisees had passed by. They watched him as he bled. They watched him lying on the ground, but they could not lay a finger and touch or raise to help him because they were in a hurry to go and worship in the synagogue. When the high priest also passed by, he saw the man lying on the ground, but could not help him because he was busy to go and offer sacrifices. When the Sadducees and the Pharisees also passed, they could not touch and help the man because they were in a hurry to go and read the Mosaic law. But there came a Good Samaritan who said, the Pharisees have passed, the high priest has passed him, the chief priest has also passed this man, and they have not helped him. Who is going to help this man if I do not take this opportunity and this responsibility? Is a high calling that we are being called upon. We, the Good Samaritans, if we do not rescue this country, if we do not take opportunity to rescue this country, who is going to take the opportunity of doing it? And therefore, you should not be intimidated. You should not be harassed. You should not feel like you're not doing the right thing. You are doing the right thing in God's kingdom. Let us all rise up. Let us speak. Those who can speak, let us speak. Those who can write, let us write. Those who can represent people in courts, let us rise up and represent those people. Those who can scream to the highest voice that things are not right in this country, let us do it. At least our voice is going to save a life. For example, how comes that we can live in a country where we are being taxed in the SHA scheme and the money is going to an individual's account? And when the Auditor General raises such kind of a patent issue, this guy from Sugoi, instead of responding to this issue, he's saying that wale watu ambao wanakasirika,
I'm dropping, thank you.
Wale watu wanaokasirika ni wale watu walikuwa wana benefit from NHIF. He can't even feel ashamed to say that those of us who are opposed to the scheme that is a death trap for our people, we are complaining because we're not able to benefit from it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senior Wakili Ndegua Njiru. Now, I want us to go back to the main topic of this. That's our wise words. A lot of education there. We have to occupy. We have to do everything. But we have a very serious case here. That's why we called you here, of one Bishop Peter Kimemia, or Peter K. Now, I want you to guza Jew. I want you to tackle that according to the law and what we should go, if you can advise this court. Thank you very much, Wakili. Go ahead.
I beg to be slightly briefed as to where the matter is, so that I can weigh in with an advice, if you don't mind, my lord.
Very much, Wakili Ndegua. Now, Madam Prosecutor has everything. If she can open microphone and at least brief you briefly, thank you, so that we can remain on track. Thank you.
Thank you, my lordship. Senior Counsel, Wakili Ndegua, we have a very serious case of a very organized ring of, I should actually call it a gang of men that are defiling and raping other men. I cannot use a better word than that, but it is an organized gang.
A better word, I will help you, my able prosecutor, Madam Prosecutor. It's called web.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it is a web, a very complex web of men actually doing the most atrocious things to other men. We have just presented evidence today in court. We presented a van that actually is literally brought to the scene of the crime by another man in order for a man to be taken advantage of, to be dragged and then taken advantage of. We've actually presented that in court today, Your Honor. And it's really terrible that we are living in a country where, you know, these men are the ones on the pulpit preaching God's word, you know, and then within the same churches, they are taking advantage of young boys and men. And then they're being covered by other men, you know. So it is so complex. We have so many men who have become victims of this particular fella. His name is Peter Kay. He calls himself a prophet. We did occupy his church, one of his churches on Sunday. We made national news. And then, so we are occupying yet another church this coming Sunday. But the main thing, the reason we needed you was we needed representation in court. We do have all of the evidence, and we wanted that by the time we are going to arrest him, you have actually gone through everything that we've got. You have spoken to the victims that we have, and then so that the arrest becomes successful and airtight. Senior Counsel, I do know that we already got what you call media coverage. It happened by surprise. We were quite surprised when all the media houses were broadcasting our stomp into Peter Kay's church on Sunday. However, we don't believe that we need more publicity for this case. So when I land tomorrow in Nairobi, I do believe we can talk about other means of giving this case the publicity that it requires. So otherwise, you can take the mic and advise us on the way forward. Our victims are here. Some of them, in fact, one of the victims, let me tell you, today he has been bleeding so much because he had to have surgery, corrective surgery, you know, on his I will use the right word, I don't have another word, anus. So that entire area had to be repaired because this man really mutilated another man. It was terrible, totally grotesque. So yesterday he did a lot of moving around. He was at the DCI headquarters, taking this there, taking that. He was literally gathering everything that he required, you know, for when the case begins. So today, he has told me he's not eaten for 3 days because these men now cannot even work. They have no means of getting food. And that's why when I came to this live, the first thing I told our people, please remember the victims. You know, remember the victims because they do not have money for food because they can no longer work. You know, they've become so immobilized that they cannot do anything. But this man, today, he's been bleeding, Senior Counsel Ndegua. He's been bleeding severely. And it's very sad what these men are going through. Take the mic. Guys, let us occupy in the comments. Let's occupy. Let's occupy. We must find justice for this man. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor, and my lords, in appearing in these proceedings. It's quite unfortunate that such kind of a thing would be happening in Kenya during our lifetime. But all this is happening again because of the issue I raised, the blatant breakdown of the rule of law and the withering down of our penal justice institutions. It's my hope and belief that these individuals have recorded their complaint with the relevant institutions, in this case being the DCI.
Yes,
So that
they
therefore,
have. They have.
the DCI therefore can commence the requisite investigations with an idea. If they reveal the existence of a crime, then subsequent actions of having this person charged can ensue. Remember, a criminal proceeding must be backed or must be grounded on credible investigations. So those individuals who have unfortunately been defiled, it is important that they first of all record their statements. Number two, we are saying that we want to be a country that cherishes the rule of law, a country that is guided by the Constitution, a country and a people who abides by the Constitution. It is on that basis, my lords and Madam Prosecutor, that I submit that our Constitution presumes our innocence until we are proven guilty. It is on that basis that we need to engage the requisite penal justice systems so that this culprit can be brought to books and he be granted an opportunity to also defend himself before the court of law. It would be much of help to the victims if we would facilitate and assist them to access the DCI office with an objective of recording their complaint, subsequent to which the office of the ODPP take over and have this individual charged. It's upon the DPP charging these individuals that therefore we can appear and represent the victims' views in the proceedings through a process called watching brief for the victims, where if the DPP succeeds in nailing down this culprit through tendering the requisite necessary evidence, then at the fullness of time, then the victims can seek for monetary compensation under what we call the Victim Protection Act. Our law allows the compensation or the restitution of a victim of a crime. Previously, a victim of crime would never be compensated, or he would never be reinstated to the status he would have been if he never suffered that, or if he was never a victim of that act. But fortunately, with the enactment of the new constitution, a victim can seek for compensation in a criminal case. So to be fair to the victims and to be fair to the suspect, we must allow the penal justice system to take its course. The noise that we are making is quite relevant, quite important, because it is calling those institutions to order. We must continue making this noise with a view or with an idea that it's only a court of law that will help us resolve that legal impasse. So, Madam Prosecutor, my lords, is my humble submissions that we assist these individuals to record their complaint with the police. Then we follow up to see whether the file has been forwarded to the DPP for his recommendation and whether the DPP has recommended the charging of these individuals. But perhaps mention that under Article 157 of our Constitution that creates the office of the ODPP, having taken cognizance of a public interest matter such as this one, is mandated by the Constitution to instruct the IG to carry out investigations. I have not seen it. I have not heard from the DPP. I have not seen the ODPP writing to the IG to ask him to commence investigations, since this is a matter of serious and grievous public interest. The other alternative is to write the ODPP and Article 157 asking him to authorize the Inspector General to carry out and expedite the investigations in respect to this case. I think that's all I need to say in respect to that particular issue, Madam Prosecutor, my lords, and I beg to rest.
Much, Wakili Ndegua. Now, here in TICC, we have a panel of senior